Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be the best of the best. negativeZero, the top Protoss bot, going to be taking on a frequent flyer in these casts. It is BenBot, the Terran bot, known for building battle cruisers and playing a defensive mech style. And so, ladies and gentlemen, before we get too far into this one, make sure you go ahead, click that like button if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below saying more bots. If we can get, I don't know, 1 like for every kilobyte that this replay is, that would be pretty good. For bot replays usually are a little bit larger than human replays, as of course there is the ridiculous amount of which key is that? It's one of these. That's the one. Yes, for the ridiculously high APM. For those of you that don't know how the StarCraft 2 replays actually function, to my understanding, it's basically just that every command input by the player is stored basically in just like a long line, and then when you go to watch a replay, it just re-executes all those commands at the times, and as a result, we get larger bot replays. It's also why we have to do, like, if you want to skip halfway through a replay, that you have to basically watch it process through the whole thing, because it's got to load that somehow. Yes. So let's see here, as we do have BenBot going for a cheeky bunker proxy. As it's known for doing so often, it's probably the most effective opening that a StarCraft 2 bot has. It usually sets BenBot up in a very, very good position. And the proxy does get up, no contest, by negativeZero, which does have a stalker on the way out, and a third gateway. So this is the very cool thing about negativeZero. It is a bot that it doesn't rush macro. So there's quite a bit of contrast between, say, negativeZero and Eris. Eris, like, gets all its strength off macroing up incredibly quickly, and then just having, like, yeah, just being able to max out and go for very strong, very early timing attacks. Whereas negativeZero is totally okay sitting on one base for a long time, and then it can tend to win games off the back of its army control, more so than anything else. Looks like negativeZero has yet to scout out this bunker. It looks like this probe coming home will reveal the danger, as negativeZero says it's up against a contain, so the bot author has programmed a specific response to handle this. Stalkers are coming down the ramp, shooting away at the bunker. We'll see if the SCV can get grabbed. Very cool play and counterplay by the author of BenBot and negativeZero here. As soon as the stalkers got close to that SCV, it started running away, because that is a commonplace strategy of trying to shut down a bunker contain, is to just snipe the SCV so it can't be repaired. And look at that. Yeah, that is very, very cool. I'm not sure if I've seen BenBot do that before, but that is a great decision by the bot author to do that. Meanwhile, BenBot is just rallying more Marines across here, as they're just moving to the front, so the Marines outside of the bunker could be in some trouble. The bunker is still standing very strong. There has been 2 stalkers that have gone down. The bunker is being worked on 4 stalkers, and a sentry is quite a bit of damage. I love the use of Guardian Shield by negativeZero. The SCV is deep on the repair, so it seems it stops pulling back when the bunker is below a certain HP threshold. The Marines are now running for their lives, but they shall not get very far. negativeZero saying contain cleaned, and then it is free, which is a little bit scary for BenBot. As negativeZero is crossing the map with stalkers, there is 1 bunker done, a second one on the way, a Widow Mine and a siege tank getting set up. Is there any Marines to put in that bunker? There is 1 Marine presently out, with another one on the way. Ah, there's the Marine. He does actually make it back inside the bunker. negativeZero does get that Nexus up behind this. So, on paper, BenBot does have a nice economic lead from this, but it's still very much a survival game when playing against negativeZero, because it does have such good army control that it might be difficult for BenBot to get out. And even with this Immortal coming forward, negativeZero is thinking of coming forward, but it does identify that it's up against a Widowmine, so that makes it pause. Of course, the tank in the back, it's known to be there, but tanks shoot further than units in StarCraft 2 can actually see. So that actually makes life much more difficult for bot authors, because it's hard to account for something that you don't see. And yes, BenBot does have another tank coming forward. This one's not sieging up just yet. There is a fusion core on the way, an armory on the way. Marines still just being produced as this bunker is getting loaded on up here. I believe that was a Hellion returning on home that got shut down. negativeZero behind this is just saturating up its natural. It's got a ways to go. Still only at 31 probes, but it looks like it's actually just deciding to go forward against BenBot here. One of the tanks gets picked off. SCV's pulled off the line. Do repair the bunker, though, and save the day. That could have gone very sour. negativeZero did back off there at the end, which is unfortunate that it didn't get that second tank, but I guess just the two bunkers and the remaining tank were still too much of a threat. And you've got to have limits to your calculations when you decide when to take an attack. Otherwise, your bot will just suicide into bad situations. So while it's, again, it would have been questionable whether negativeZero should have kept trying to go in there. As far as the army calculation goes, it's like, okay, that was probably the right decision, but economically, it is still in a bit of a tough position with the fact that its natural is just reaching max saturation, and BenBot has got a third command center landing now. Now, negativeZero is still pumping out units. Looks like it wants to go forward again at some point. BenBot does have bio. Pardon me, that must have been another scouting Hellion that got picked off at the back there. And yeah, BenBot with some Marines and Marauders will definitely make this harder for negativeZero to commit on in. SCVs are transferring towards that third base. The third is turning into a planetary, which could be important, but we have seen that it is very possible to target down a planetary fairly quickly with these bots. They've got excellent targeting, killing off the SCVs, and then, well, killing the planetary. And this is a massive, massive Protoss army at this point. Looks like BenBot says tag jump enemy base, so the battlecruiser is going to teleport on over to negativeZero's side of the map, so the probes have to run for negativeZero. We'll see if there's going to be a recall. Stalkers are just running on home. There is a battery and a couple stalkers present, but BenBot is getting off some good harassment here. And yeah, let's see, the battery, it's like for a second seems like it's healing up that Nexus. Okay, then it does decide to use all of its energy to keep that Nexus alive. Stalkers coming on in. Battery overcharge does get popped as this BC will be pushed away. negativeZero has yet to get Blink, which is going to make life a little more painful. Trying to move these Stalkers around, they really just, it's really night and day when Stalkers have Blink or when they don't. Meanwhile, this one Immortal did cross the map. I wonder if that was just rallied across the map or if it was left behind, because it doesn't, well, it obviously can't shoot up against a battle cruiser. Now, BenBot has moved out with a big chunk of its bio. This is actually quite a risky position for the Terran bot, because this bio is alone without any support. The Prism can juggle these Stalkers for negativeZero, and we'll see if negativeZero even loses a single Stalker in this fight. It looks like it's not going to, and that it's just going to kill pretty much all this bio off. This is the crazy control of negativeZero. Picking off these Marines, the Immortal retreating, does get saved by its friends, and BenBot loses a big chunk of supply for nothing, which then does put it in a bit of a risky position. It's like, you don't really want to be out on the map when negativeZero has got 20 Stalkers lurking around. BenBot has got another battle cruiser out, but that one is just, well, that one must have teleported home earlier, so that means it can't actually teleport out of this situation. There is a Widowmine, which does get picked off before it gets anything done. Stalkers are moving forward on top of the tank of BenBot. However, this tank being repaired by the planetary is a big deal. Marines stimming as well. So negativeZero does commit into this attack, and it doesn't go that well for the Protoss bot. BenBot holds on to the third. Behind this, BenBot has got a fourth base getting up. Both these bots are macroing as negativeZero has now got a third up, fully saturated. Fourth base for negativeZero is going up as well. So it's not necessarily all in this situation, but it does still need to be careful. And so far it's done quite a good job not suiciding into the tanks really or anything like that, as the observers are giving perfect vision for negativeZero. We do have a battlecruiser teleport back into the main base of negativeZero, so that batter hit's got to heal up the Nexus. We hear the jump enemy base once again. Okay, there's another one coming on in, so 2 battlecruisers. A recall does get used by negativeZero. Blink is almost done. That's definitely going to help out. The battery overcharge is healing up this Nexus, healing up these Stalkers. Once Blink is done, that really will help negativeZero out tremendously. Yamato Cannon kills off a Stalker, kills off another Stalker. There's a Phoenix out, but one Phoenix ain't going to kill 2 battlecruisers, that's for sure. Oh, apologies, my mouse is having a bit of a hard time for a second, it seems, but it comes back. Now, BenBot is getting up a 5th command center. We have got Vikings flying above the Immortal. The Immortal does just get left behind when the Stalkers go to do work and clean up the battlecruisers. Vikings being pushed away. Currently, supply is 147 to 159. Now, negativeZero has yet to go into Tempest, which I think will probably be coming at some point, seeing as how it is up against a mass battlecruiser composition. Oracle does eat a Widowmine. That's unfortunate. I'm guessing it was kind of caught between those 2 armies there or something, as negativeZero goes up towards its own 5th base across the map. Stalker's still just poking. There's the fleet beacon on the way, and this game is looking reasonably close at this point, as Stalkers are defending against this battlecruiser once more. Another BC is going to teleport on in, but yeah, negativeZero doing an okay job defending against this. We have this BC coming back on in. Stalkers going to defend. Yamato Cannon will kill off a Phoenix. But, yeah, negativeZero hasn't taken too much damage from these BCs. BenBot, though, has taken really very, very minimal damage, and it's actually had a lot of free reign in this game to macro up. The Blue Terran is now just about maxed out, producing 4 battlecruisers at a time. And now pushing across the map, though, this is where BenBot loses its defender's advantage, as units do just feed on in. There's 3 tanks sieged on the ground in a very nice choke point, but negativeZero does what it does best and just moves forward against that. Colossus gets killed off. Looks like a battlecruiser was harassing in the main base again, so that does pull negativeZero back. For those of you wondering, that Colossus did just disappear. Yes, that is a visual bug. Sometimes where units in these bot games, on these bot maps, do not have their proper death animation. Curious if there is a potential fix, as I know the GSL was having similar problems, so. Anyway, let's see here, as we do have a Widowmine going off for BenBot. Oracle flying on in. We have the tag Jump Tempest being used, as 2 BCs do dispatch one of negativeZero's Tempest. The red Protoss bot does have a pretty decent economy, although it is short on gas presently, producing 2 Tempest at a time. There is a lot of Stalkers in the main base, though. So really, if the Tempest stay with the Stalkers, then they should be fine. Then the Tempest should be fine, as that is one way to make it rather costly for the battlecruisers, as we do see a Tempest coming on in, looking to work away on this. We see BenBot saying tag Jump Tempest again, though. 3 battlecruisers coming on in to delete that Tempest. The Tempest very smartly skedaddles on out of there, but still 2 Yamato cannons connect, and these Stalkers are in a bit of a tough spot, and this could be really problematic for negativeZero if it never hits critical mass on the Tempest, because that's what you need in order to kill the BCs, because once you have like 10 Tempest, the Terran can jump on you and try and pick off those Tempest with the battlecruisers, but then eventually it becomes very costly. That BC does get killed off. Vikings are still flying around causing problems. BenBot does have a great economy behind this, though. It's now moving out with a bit of a bio force to go for an attack, so very cool independent attacks by the Terran bot that this attack is moving out, then the BCs are still doing work. There's presently 8 battlecruisers out. Looks like that number may decrease, though, as this Tempest is shutting down these BCs hiding in the corner. We heard the tag jump Tempest once again. negativeZero is doing a good job responding to this bio attack at this Nexus. It's also trying to deal with these BCs that jumped into the main bases. 2 BCs jumped on another Tempest and killed it off. Currently, we've seen 3 dead Tempest to 3 dead battlecruisers, as a recall now gets utilized by negativeZero. Battlecruisers are teleporting on out of there. I'm curious if BenBot will eventually abandon this corner strategy, because its weaknesses are starting to show, as these Tempest will get 1 more free kill and potentially a second one. They will get a second one. And that is where things may start to turn around. negativeZero now just about maxed out. It's got a very good army and producing 4 Tempest at a time. So despite BenBot having better upgrades, getting +3 armor, almost having, well, no +3 attack, but it's going to have 2-3 BCs, which are very formidable. But at the same time, Tempest can dispatch those pretty handily if they're controlled correctly, and we can pretty much assume negativeZero is going to control those correctly. Still, though, both these bots have got a great economic position, so they can both absorb a little bit of damage here. Now, we do see BenBot taking some damage from those Tempest in the back, though Vikings are grouped up. However, there's an incredible amount of Stalkers on the ground still, but look at all these BCs for BenBot coming on in. Now, they are eating Tempest shots and retreating. Yamato Cannon can't be used because the Stalkers are zoning them away. That is very problematic. And so all of a sudden, after a few volleys of Tempest, all those BCs have to fall back to be repaired, and that is not what BenBot wants, as now it's just trickling out those battlecruisers 1 at a time. A Thor is on the way, which is very cool to see. 6 Vikings at a time to counter these potential Tempest. And I mean, there is still static defense for BenBot. It's still got a decent economy, although it looks like it will lose this planetary here, most likely. The base in the upper right is being harassed by Tempest 2, as negativeZero is just an absolute killer coming on in. There is so many battlecruisers left for BenBot, but they're kind of just being engaged 1 by 1. And yes, while many of the Stalkers have died, negativeZero is replacing them with more Tempest, which is problematic. Yamato Cannon does hit 1 of those Tempest. If we take a look, though, it's 5 dead BCs to 3 dead Tempest, which isn't the best trades for BenBot. Vikings are moving forward. A Thor being out is very cool and helpful, as Thors can really zone out Tempest. They actually have a higher range from ground to air than Tempest have from air to ground. SCVs repairing that Thor is a big deal. Of course, micro matters, though. This base is being worked on. Now, this base is being harassed a little bit. BenBot still has a decent economy. It's still pumping out lots of units. There's so many Vikings for the Blue Terran, and there's only 14 Stalkers on the ground, so maybe the Vikings will be able to get on the Tempest. As we've just pan out and look at this army, this is just absolutely ridiculous how big this fight is. Units fighting all over the place, as I mean, BC is flying around, Tempest flying around. This base is still being harassed, so that's a big blow to BenBot's economy. Battlecruisers taking shots, teleporting on out of there. negativeZero really hasn't been harassed in the past few minutes, which is probably why things are going so sour for BenBot. Battlecruiser eating some shots, teleporting on out of there, as this planetary is now in trouble. And if this planetary dies, that would be a huge loss for BenBot. Some SCVs start repairing, but they're going to have to get some more to repair that, as Tempest deal massive amounts of damage there. Battlecruisers are coming on in, eating Tempest shots. And oh man, as negativeZero is just all over BenBot. The Colossus will go down, but resources lost. It's not going that well for the Terran, as yeah, negativeZero seems to be dismantling BenBot. BenBot now falling down in supply, and it's just the Tempest Stalker composition. It seems that battlecruisers and Vikings cannot deal with it. It does make me wonder, like, what BenBot could change to potentially do better in this situation. And the only thing I can think of is that Vikings really do not achieve that much for how many BenBot has made. So I'm wondering, like, genuinely, maybe a few more Thors would be good. Maybe squeezing in the odd Hellion for some harassment would be good too, because like negativeZero has no static defense at any of its bases, really. It's got one cannon and one battery here, but this base undefended. This base does have some static defense, but like this one doesn't. And so maybe BenBot needs to harass a little bit, because like it had a good early game, but then once it was on the defensive, things just started to fall to pieces. Mass BC does not beat Mass Tempest, and it's very difficult to program a bot that uses battle cruisers and Vikings to counter that correctly. Like, the only way that you'd take on a Stalker Tempest army, I believe, is with battle cruisers and Tempest, would be if you set it up, and, well, if your opponent's all grouped up for one. If negativeZero is just spread out, that's a completely different engagement. But if your opponent is relatively grouped up, you basically have to teleport on top of the Tempest and Stalkers with the BCs, so the BCs force the Tempest to run, then you send in the Vikings too. But that's something that's just impossible to program, as it's all very situational. And yeah, looks like negativeZero will take this one, showing us that it does have a very, very good late game control. And once it gets the Tempest, it doesn't seem to struggle at all. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, if you watched up until the end of this match, go ahead, click that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below saying more bots if you do want to see more of these bot matches. And yes, I shall see you guys next time. Subscribe to my second channel if you haven't either, as I might, I started streaming the Wings of Liberty campaign the other day, so I'm going to pick that back up at some point. GG.